All right. Another week in the books. We've had some great interviews, great conversations. Kenzie will join us hopefully again next week. I know she's dealing with stuff, so wishing her the best. Now, I'm going to tell you a story that I may or may not have shared before, but, let me start here. Last week, we interviewed Rick Wilson. I say we, I mean me. And it was nice to talk to Rick. It was some good insight, and I had a lot of questions. And I think the person we're going to talk to this week, perhaps it'll be a slightly different energy based off of kind of where I want to take the conversation. Because with Rick, I really had just a list of things to address. And look, it's about moderate conversation. So I really am trying to approach things from what's important, what's really important. So in an effort to do that and putting my notes together, first of all, I don't want to ask the same questions twice, although sometimes that you do want to get somebody's perspective on the same thing. But there's always so much happening. There's always so much happening. So I'm focused on that. But on the heels of the Rick Wilson interview and going into next week's interview, and being that Kenzie happens to not be here again, and that's okay, I thought, what a great time. What a great time to share a story that I may or may not have told you here on this podcast in some form, but we'll slow down and we'll tell it the right way. Here's how Bob Iger helped me crank call Donald Trump on Air Force One during his first administration. And I say that like it's a TikTok video because I will make a TikTok video. But that's the headline, right? What? How did, who, what, how? Now look, just chill out. Because, I posted a video the other day and it was about the channel. And I said, oh, hey, just an update. I haven't been banned. I've just been focusing on the podcast. With so much, there's so much going on in the country, and with everything going on in the country, I think with everything going on in the country is how I characterized it. But I'm pretty sure I didn't make any sweeping proclamations about what I was doing with the channel. And in fact, I've been trying to focus more on the DIY stuff and slowly get back to doing some more of that DIY stuff with Robotis and FlashForge stuff and so on and so forth. A little more information. I put up a tip video the other day, but I'm also playing with like setups and camera angles. So I really am taking the time to explore, particularly in this down gear with TikTok that we've discussed so many times now, because it's sort of, we're in a down gear. So here I am, interviewing Rick Wilson, so appreciative that he takes the time, to talk to me. I'm a guy that's doing Disney content. He doesn't even know that. And by the way, just to go back to that video for a second, the responses were just so outlandish. Not all of them, some of them. But they were so outlandish, and it only reinforced my point, right? I'm okay. But here I am having this moderate conversation with Rick Wilson. There was no real vilification of any one person. I'm just trying to have a conversation. And again, I didn't invite people in I invited you to go follow me on other platforms and check out the podcast. But if you saw that as an invitation to leave, then maybe it was. Okay? But anyway, enough of the video. My point there was just sort of it reinforced the idea of doing what we're doing here on the podcast. So anyway, I'm talking to Rick. This is what happens when Kenzie's not here, because now I'm like trying to keep it together, but I'm also trying to kill time. 5 minutes. Oy vey, Izmir. So I'm thinking, wow, how cool is it that, I'm talking to Rick and I'm getting to ask Rick these questions, and, how cool is it that he does this thing and doesn't really know who I am, I want to make sure he knows, because he didn't even question it, right? I thought we would get on to do the interview and he'd be like, so how'd you get my info? So at the end, knowing that this guy's got 100 things to do, I try to keep it really, really quick. I'm like, hey, listen, I already ended the recording. Real quick, I just wanted to say something to you. And he goes, yeah, what's up? I said, just so you know, I'm the guy who produced the crank call with Trump during his first administration. And he goes, oh, I know. He goes, I know. I have a staff. I was like, oh, that's all. I just want to let you know. And I was like, wow, I'm shocked. I was genuinely shocked, right? I just figured, somebody reached out to him and he's like, yeah, he's a good dude. So he's like, I'll do your podcast, man. You want to talk about important things? Well, that's my perspective. I just thought he would be like, he's like, no, I know who you are. I'm like, that's crazy. My audience doesn't even know. But what's funny is despite, this audience, this TikTok audience that I built up, and it's such a conflicting place to be with the TikTok of it all, and it really is, because I've built up this thing on TikTok, but I'm sorry, when it comes to propaganda, just the way I was raised and the things I was educated on, I don't care who is pushing the propaganda. The way I'm just wired to respond to it, maybe it's foolish, but to me, it's only just, again, one of these other things going on right now that further reiterates the direction I'm headed. So nonetheless, my audience doesn't even really know this story, right? I'm so fortunate to be doing this Disney thing and building up this audience on TikTok, but they don't really know. I mean, I've told the story from time to time. So here we go. Here's how Bob Iger helped me crank call Donald Trump. Now, I produced the crank call. I wasn't the one on the call, but I'm the sole reason the call happened. And I say sole reason because I tested this whole thing out once before we ever got to implementing it, right? So it was this call that I did on my own time that was never recorded that kicked the whole thing off. And I had to look up when this all transpired, right? So somewhere into Donald Trump's first administration, I was running my arcade business and I'm driving around Los Angeles, really the San Fernando Valley, but LA. And I'm driving around and I'm like, geez, this Trump administration is such a cluster. Like anybody could get through. Anybody could get through it. Like this guy is just he's probably taking calls from everybody. So I'm driving around running errands for my business. And again, there's no audience, but in my frustration, I decide I'm just going to call this guy and ask him what's wrong with him. I guess that's what I was going to ask him. I'm not even quite sure I knew what I was going to say. I think I just, like a velociraptor testing weaknesses in the fence, I thought, let me do this thing. So I call the main switchboard as I'm driving around. I think I was going to Smart and Final to buy candy to sell in the arcade, right? This is what I was doing. And I call the switchboard. And I wasn't going to say it was me because I don't know why, actually, to tell you the truth. I really don't know why. I guess I wanted a response. Even though I wasn't expecting a response, I somehow wanted a response. So I opted to pretend like I was rolling calls for an office, like I used to do, because I used to work at several desks rolling calls for people as an assistant. So the White House switchboard answers. Hello, White House. I was like, oh, hi, yeah, I have Bob Iger for Donald Trump. And she's like, hold on, please. She comes back and she goes, who? And now, even though I'm lying, I'm annoyed. Because how dare you not know who I'm pretending to be? I'm pretending to be a very important person. And it's not even me. He's my boss. My imaginary boss is a very busy guy, and he's very notable. How dare you not know who he is? He's not fake. He's real. He's just not my boss. But okay, fine. I have Bob Iger for Donald Trump. Who? The president, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Please hold. All right. What am I doing? I'm at a red light. I'll hold. I'll play your game of hold. I'm just thinking that they're going to hang up on me, right? Because why would Bob Iger's office be calling through the switchboard? All right. And then the phone clicks, and I get somebody who clearly sounds to be a little bit more professional than just, no disrespect to the switchboard operator, but like you can tell the call's just been leveled up a notch. And they were like, hi, who's this? So now, suddenly, I have Hope Hicks on the other line. Okay? And she's like, I'm sorry, who's calling? And I said, Bob Iger. I have Bob Iger, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. And she said, well, can I get a number? Because he's in a meeting right now. We'll have to call you back. So I gave my number. And I went to Smart and Final. Well, like an hour later, whatever it was, it could have even been like 2 hours later, I get a call back. And it's, hi, we have Donald Trump. They probably said the president, to be fair. We have the president for Bob Iger. I was like, oh my God, I forgot I did that. Okay. I said, we'll have to return. Very casual. We'll have to return. Because that's what you say when you're busy and your boss isn't available. We'll have to return. And they were like, oh, okay. Now, in their mind, they're probably like, really, you just dissed the president of the United States? I mean, you ditched his call and dissed him? Now I was like, oh my God, I got through to the White House. This is wild. So I just, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't do anything with it. I just kept it in my back pocket. What an absurd idea. Pick up the phone, get through to the White House, get the president to call you back. But I didn't tell anybody. So fast forward however long it was, I'm helping this guy out who used to be on the radio. He was a Leno's announcer for a minute. And I'm producing his podcast out of my business of all places. And he's got some goofball guest that cancels in the last minute. And I go, you know what you should do? You should call the White House. You could totally get through. And You've hung out with this guy before, the president. You've hung out with Trump before. Several times. Right? Because look, Trump was an entertainer back in the day. I mean, he was everywhere, you know? So he was on the Stern Show. This guy was on the Stern Show. So there was a history there. But I didn't put any more thought into it than that. I really didn't. So we're recording the podcast in the conference room of the warehouse in Chatsworth, California. I think at the time I had 3 warehouses. I mean, the business was doing pretty good. This is pre-COVID, right? And I wanted to do more content. This channel, this whole TikTok thing that didn't even exist. So we're recording. He calls the White House, and he says he's calling to talk to the president, and they hang up. So he calls again. He goes, listen, I used to hang out with Donald. Click. I said, listen, have you ever seen My Cousin Vinny? What you got to do is change. And again, this is all on the fly. We're not live streaming. We're just pre-recording. This is all on the fly. And there's just 3 of us in a conference room. Your last name is Melendez. Just say you're Menendez, Senator Menendez, because there's a Senator Menendez. Now, what I didn't know was that Senator Bob Menendez, I didn't know a lot of things at the time. I still don't. But what I didn't know about this Menendez that I pulled out of thin air because of the My Cousin Vinny of it all, which I used to watch with my grandfather growing up. I would go down to Florida. I'm in Florida now. I'd go down to Florida and I'd watch My Cousin Vinny on a VHS tape with my grandfather and just laugh and laugh and laugh, and he loved it. And so I always think of Jerry Callow. So I said, no, not Melendez, Menendez. So he calls back with this really bad accent. And they're like, oh, hold on. But again, what I didn't know was that Senator Bob Menendez from New Jersey, is not only a Democrat, but he's had many sizable contributions from the Kushners and the Trumps. So when this story breaks, nobody even focuses on the Bob Menendez side to the story. And put a pin in that, we'll get there. So we're on hold, and they come back, and they go, listen, fine. It's almost like they were questioning that it wasn't legit, but somehow still something was going on because they were still trying to sort it all out. And they go, all right. It was almost like they were like, all right, we'll bite, but answer this. Riddle me this. And this is the White House. They're like, oh, okay. But if you're calling from Senator Bob Menendez's office in New Jersey, why do you have a California number? To which Melendez responds, we're on holiday. Now, between the response, we're on holiday, and the absolutely horrific accent, I'm like, we're done. But we're not. And they go, oh, okay, please hold. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you have to be kidding me right now. This is wild. So they come back and they go, can we have a number? I go, oh my gosh, this is really working. So he gives his number. We hang up. We're laughing. We finish the podcast. And again, you kind of go on your day. You forget about it. Now I'm home. It's the evening. and I get a call. You're not going to believe what just happened. I go, what are you talking about? I just got off the phone with the president. I go, shut up. Get out of here. Like, come on, man. I'm tired. It's late. No. For real, and I have it recorded. What? Yes. I go, how does this even happen? What? He goes, I'm on my way to a date, and the phone rings. And it's Jared Kushner. And Jared Kushner is like, please hold, I'm going to patch you through to the president on Air Force One. Because he thinks I'm the Senator Bob Menendez. I go, but wait, you really recorded it? And he goes, yeah, because I told a buddy of mine. He goes, because they called me first and said, we're going to call you right back. They wanted to make sure I was available. So in that time, he called, and it's almost a fantasy, but it's a true story. He goes, so in that time, I called my buddy to make sure that he could record it for me. I go, this is nuts. I go, I still don't believe you. And he goes, yeah, so then he patched me through to Donald Trump on Air Force One. Here's the call.
Okay, one moment, sir. He stepped away from his chair. I'm getting ready to ring his phone right now. Just one moment.
All right, thank you so much.
Sir, your call is connected. Hi, Bob.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? Congratulations on everything. We're proud of you. Congratulations. Great job. You went through a tough situation, and I don't think a very fair situation, but congratulations.
Thank you so much. And, I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. President, but obviously my constituents are giving me a lot of beef about this immigration thing. I know that you did something really noble by trying to, get the kids back with their families, but I have to answer to them. What can I tell them that you're going to do moving forward?
So, Bob, let me just tell you, I want to be able to take care of the situation every bit as much as anybody else at the top level. I'd like to do the larger solution rather than the smaller solution. They're doing them step by step. I think we could do the whole thing. I have a good relationship with the party. You have a good relationship with the party. And I think we could do a real immigration bill. We have to have security at the border. We have to have it. I mean, look, you got 60% of the country, they've got to have security at the border. And that's a good issue for the Democrats too, Bob. It's not like it's good for you or good for me. It's good for both of us. People are tired of the problems.
No, I understand that, but
go ahead.
No, but I am Hispanic, so I have to, I'm sure you understand. So I have to look into my, I have to look into my people as well. You understand?
I agree. So, Bob, let me do this. I'm on Air Force One. I'm just coming back. We had an amazing rally in North Dakota, actually.
Yeah, I saw the speech.
It's going to be good. It's a tough race. You say it again?
No, I saw the speech, and I thought it was a great speech. But if I could just ask you one more thing, Mr. President, as far as the new justice, I'm sure you've heard, I'm sure you know that Justice Kennedy is retiring. And, Justice Kennedy was a Reagan appointee. I'm begging you, are you going to go more moderate, or do you think you're going to go more conservative?
Well, I haven't looked. I have a list of people. I have a big list of people, Bob, and we'll take a look at it. And we're going to make a decision. I'll probably make it over the next couple of weeks.
Because I promise you, you'll have my vote. I will help you if you don't go too conservative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, we will talk to you about it. We're going to probably make a decision, Bob, over the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to have a really good. We have some great choices, and be done over the next 12 to 14 days.
All right, well, please, keep me informed, and, good luck on your trip, and thank you so much for taking my call.
You take care. I will speak to you soon, Bob. Take care of yourself.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Bob. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, bye, Cambodia.
Unbelievable. Now, do you notice that he says, "Hi, Bob, we're proud of you"? That goes back to the corruption of Senator Bob Menendez and all of the stuff that I did not know about. I didn't know. So all of these things lined up. And I get a text message with the MP3 file. It's a new year, which means it's time to spice up your kitchen with Pampered Chef. Pampered Chef has all the goodies, from spatulas, mandolins, and amazing pots and pans, not to mention knives. So go check out Colleen Herman at pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman, and don't miss out on the small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker. So spice up your kitchen today. pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. And with no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate and legal fights and fees. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law for a free consultation to discuss the options and tools you have available to protect your home, savings, and estate for those you love the most. To get started, send an email to russell@rklawpro.com. That's russell@rklawpro.com, or call 786-566-2456 to set up your consultation today. Last-minute shipping from the parks? My friends at the UPS store have you covered. And even if you're local, they have lots of services from P.O. boxes to notaries. So go check out my friends at the UPS store, 6526 Old Brick Road, located right behind the Magic Kingdom. And as always, William.Bailey Travel is available to help you plan your next vacation. So whether you're going to Disney, a cruise, a Disney cruise, or just looking to explore the world, William provides a customizable experience at competitive rates. You can reach out to William at William.Bailey at academytravel.com, William.Bailey at academytravel.com. And even as I'm telling you the story right now, I start to kind of get chills to think about how many things had to line up for this moment to occur. So now I have to tell the media, right? This should be easy. Well, nobody believed me. We tweeted it out. Nobody believed us. I emailed Rachel Maddow's producer. They didn't respond. I mean, I reached out to everybody for a day because I was sitting on gold. And then the day after a day of nothing, where I'm like, how is this not popping? Somehow Politico picked it up. That the president may have been crank called on Air Force One. And my ex at the time goes, "Do you know who would fit into this storyline really, really well?" And I go, "No, who?" She goes, "Michael Avenatti," because at the time he was peak Michael Avenatti. And I said, "That's hilarious." So I picked up the phone. I mean, just thinking about it like comedy writers, that's all. So I picked up the phone and I call Michael Avenatti, and I leave a message for his office. I get a call back within 40 minutes. The next thing you know, Michael Avenatti's representing the case, mainly because he wants press. So we've now added, it's like bringing a new character into the episode, right? We've now introduced Michael Avenatti into the equation. And we're off to the races. I mean, the media that we did in 3 days, from a broom closet for Inside Edition to different shows at Fox and CBS, and just random interviews with reporters from different news stations, just in different places, like, oh, let's just go meet over here and stand in the corner of this park. And knock out an interview, or TMZ is like, hey, we'll meet you outside this bar and we'll shoot against this brick wall. Like, I mean, it was just sort of like, it was a flurry. And then it all came crashing down because Michael Avenatti stole the big CNN interview. Michael Avenatti comes in and hijacks all of Melendez's media. I mean, all of it. To the point that I don't even think the Secret Service ever showed up. I think he lied and said that he was dealing with the Secret Service just to scare the guy so he could take all of his press. And it was just an absolutely wild experience, you know, which then led to sort of pivoting the podcast when the next election cycle came up to doing more politics and getting involved in conversations with folks like a Rick Wilson. But I was behind the scenes for all of that. I didn't have a TikTok account. I didn't have anything. I was just behind the scenes. So when Rick said, oh, I know who you are, I was like, that's wild to me. So this is my Larry David moment, okay? Because when that call happened, I was in the background for all of it. And now I'm just like, do we do it again? I'm not going to, okay? But I could. And a lot of people could say that. But I think I could. I really think I could. But instead, we're going to have conversations like we had with Rick, and we're going to continue to have those conversations, and I'm excited for it. But I wanted to share that story with you in some detail, in some level of detail, because it really, really was a maelstrom and the perfect storm. I mean, for all of that to actually transpire the way that it did, it was the perfect storm. From me trialing it in my car with zero audience to the guest bailing on the podcast to this guy having a prior relationship with Donald Trump that made it make sense even though it didn't actually get the job done. Okay, to the notion that the joke of the My Cousin Vinny of it all would actually pay dividends because the name that we were switching to was a corrupt senator who received contributions from not just Trump, but from the Kushners. And when I looked that up, I mean, that was go look it up. It's a laundry list of contributions, and the media never touched it. You know, Menendez several different times came up on charges of corruption and trying to sell his seat. So when Trump answers the crank call with, we're proud of you, he's saying a lot more than people tapped into to this day. And that was interesting to me that was never realized. So all of these things had to line up, down to the point that there was actually a relationship between the name of the senator and the president and Kushner, who was heavily involved. For all of those pieces to line up, it was something else. I mean, it was just something else. And then to take that whole story a step further in the Disney of it all, or at least the Disney live streaming of it all, we had a gentleman on a couple weeks ago who was a mayor in Jersey, Mayor Keith Ramos, buddies with Yoey, right? Yoey knows a lot of people in Jersey, a lot of people that are involved. So about a year ago, maybe less, I get a call from Yoey. And he's like, I'm going to a football game. You're never going to believe whose box we're sitting in. I go, who? He goes, Senator Bob Menendez. Get out of town. I said, I'm coming up. Because what happened was Avenatti took Melendez's press. And when they got sick of Avenatti, Menendez came in, and Menendez picked up all the crumbs. So Menendez, for a minute before he came back up on more corruption charges, because he was vindicated and then came up on charges again, and I believe he was indicted, but I don't even know. I'm not here to be a legal analyst, but I'm pretty sure the guy's fried. All right? So he wound up picking up crumbs, and he wound up getting a bunch of press. And I was emailing with his assistant, Trish, at one point, like, you really got to get him to come on the podcast I was producing because, you know, he should thank us. But in hindsight, he probably didn't really want any attention in the first place. He was probably like, oh, my God, how did I get roped into this crank call? I'm just trying to be quiet and corrupt. And why are you bringing me into your little joke? So we ruffled a lot of feathers. It was a lot of fun. And that's how Bob Iger helped me crank call Donald Trump on Air Force One. It's a new year, which means it's time to spice up your kitchen with Pampered Chef. Pampered Chef has all the goodies, from spatulas, mandolins, and amazing pots and pans, not to mention knives. So go check out Colleen Herman at pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman, and don't miss out on the small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker. So spice up your kitchen today, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. And with no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate and legal fights and fees. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law for a free consultation to discuss the options and tools you have available to protect your home, savings, and estate for those you love the most. To get started, send an email to russell@rklawpro.com. That's russell@rklawpro.com, or call 786-566-2456 to set up your consultation today. Last-minute shipping from the parks, my friends at the UPS store have you covered. And even if you're local, they have lots of services from P.O. boxes to notaries. So go check out my friends at the UPS store, 6526 Old Brick Road, located right behind the Magic Kingdom. And as always, William.Bailey Travel is available to help you plan your next vacation. So whether you're going to Disney, a cruise, a Disney cruise, or just looking to explore the world, William provides a customizable experience at competitive rates. You can reach out to William at William.Bailey at academytravel.com, William.Bailey at academytravel.com.